we are. Yes. Wait a second, I'm trying to get my. Well, I really don't understand why we don't have the presentation with the camera, but wait. So I'll try to bring it right now with you guys. So we are looking today our past week dedicated to ordinary differential equations. I understand that some of you may have worked on getting the previous problems completed. I'd like you to think about getting those problems towards the end of this week. Before I go, I would want to be able to send feedback, grade this week, because I'm still creating content for the classes. So there's no time yet for me to come back and start. But I will, one of the things I intend to do is that my own version of that, I can with everything running with just set to you, so you have an idea how this looks like compared to your own solution. So this class here, this course is not about me grading, it's about teaching you the things that you may know, some things that you don't know. So what we're looking at this week is going to be about partial differential equations. And I have a strong belief that a lot of you use partial differential equations really on a daily basis while you're performing modeling and things like that. But you don't even really realize that because you're applying this in a model. You don't really appreciate what's entailed in the partial differential equation. So what I would like to start first is to outline what I would like to do, and I'm not saying what I would like to do is something that we will do. It's essentially because a certain amount of time that it takes for us to get there. But if you look at the syllabus of the class, over there will be some space for us to talk about Laplace equation. Then another to talk about heat equation, or maybe heat transfer. This one. There is a discussion there about Fisher, initial, mixing, model, and discussion about some sort of open channel flow modeling. So Laplace equation, heat transfer equation, Fisher initial variant, initial mixing model, and open channel flow model. The different approaches here associated. So what is Laplace equation? Laplace equation would be an example of an elliptic partial differential equation. That's how we're going to call this as PDEs. Heat transfer equation, an example of parabolic partial differential equation. Open channel flow modeling, an example of hyperbolic PDE. And Fisher is strange. It's nothing. Fisher is just a methodology that we can use to simulate time-dependent 2D contamination spreading in rivers. So technically speaking, you will have several different categories. The process of advection itself could be seen as hyperbolic, but you have turbulent lateral dispersion, diffusion, and longitudinal dispersion that you can see this as parabolic. But the way this is wrapped, the approach here to Fisher is relatively simple. I mean, simple to understand, difficult to implement. So I'm working on this guy. It would be very, very, very cool if I could present this to you. If you haven't seen among the books that we have suggested for you to read, there is a Fisher et al. 1979 book, chapter 5. In chapter 5 of that book is where this numerical solution is presented. So I would like you to get this presented to you as well, implemented in Excel. But let's see how we can progress with the others. Today, our focus will be on Laplace equation. We are going to present the numerical solution of Laplace equation, and then we're going to implement the solution of Laplace equation in Excel. Question for everybody here: for anyone here solved or remember solving Laplace equation before? It doesn't matter numerically or analytically speaking. There are many applications for Laplace equation. Anyone here knows, remembers implicit flow? Flows without any energy lost. There is a theory called potential flow theory. Potential flow theory is very traditional, developed before the computers, when you have to compute flows in systems in which energy losses were negligible. So there's a theory for potential flow. Well, everybody here has applied. If you have had a course in geotechnical engineering, you have applied Laplace equation, because those net lines, flow lines involved in porous medium that you draw under a dam, for instance, those are actually derived with Laplace equation. So imagine you can kind of do this in Excel. So it will be really interesting. Heat transfer equation, parabolic, could be our next one. I'm thinking about either this one or this one for tomorrow. And finishing our discussion with open channel flow model. So see, this class here, it's not about me deriving the equations for you. So for instance, if you haven't seen some equations before, I'm not going to derive some equation. I'm going to say, hey, there's an equation here called Savannah, and let's solve it. Or hey, there is a Laplace equation here, let's solve it. We're not deriving the equations to you. It's not class, all mathematics. but it's on how to solve those problems numerically. But the open-channel flow modeling, what I intend to do, has anyone here solved a dam break flow? A situation where you have a reservoir, horizontal bed, let's assume for simplicity that the roughness here can be described with many, and suddenly this disappears. And calculate the flow profile. Maybe I can put a wall here and a wall here, then the flow sloshes back. So yes, I know you have solved this in grass. You can do that at grass, but at grass I don't think you can make an instantaneous dam break. It's difficult to set out a model to do that. But what we can do here is to create a code that can simulate this type of situation. It's a system, summary equation is a system of partial differential equations. Let's see if we can do this in our last stage. All right, so I have written a few things here about elliptic, parabolic, hyperbolic. What does this mean? How we classify things, and why is this important for us that are providing numerical solutions? So, I asked this before, and I'm going to answer this again. Ordinary differential equations versus partial differential equations. The key difference is the number of independent variables that we have. So our ordinary differential equations, we are solving most of the problems t as the independent variable, and there is a problem in solving x for y. Now, when we're solving partial differential equations, we have at least two different independent variables we're solving for. At least two. Many times in water resources, we're solving for both x and t. So one-dimensional space and time. Some problems involve defining x, y, and t. Other problems involving applying x, z, and obviously I'm talking about Cartesian coordinates. Some problems involve the scope for x, y, z, and t. Right? So the number of independent variables increases. So what are examples here? X and t, most of open channel flow solvers. Use that. Convection, diffusion, dispersion, equations are solved with x and t. Advection, convection, thermal convection, dispersion, diffusion are all, normally speaking, x and t. 1D, obviously. X, y, and t, you have famously the shallow water equations. And also you have advection, convection, diffusion, dispersion processes, but modeling should be the time. It's just the same things here. X, Z, and D. Anyone saw a model that does that? There's a model that focuses on longitudinal, depth, and time. What would be a feasible process that is involved? reservoirs, water quality, big reservoirs behind the dams. So there are 4 models that are interested in the process of, say, thermal stratification or turnover processes. If you think about some hydroelectric dams, there are very deep valleys, long valleys. The second dimension that does make sense is the depth, not that. So there are some models that would be water distributed, some water quality models. That are set up in X, Z, and D. X, Y, Z, and D. What are the typical models we have of X, Y, Z, and D in the context of water? The mechanics. Endlessly speaking, measured slopes, that is those equations, those are models that have X, Y, Z, and T, sometimes multi-phase. So you're looking at really a very wide range of independent variables. In my own experience, most of the models that I developed there are like X and D. Most of the systems like that, they can be simplified to a 1D or 3D design. So I'm either here or here in my work. Okay, so there is this concept of partial differential equations. The second thing is order. Second way for classification. What order means. So there is basically first, second, third, and so forth orders or PGE. It has to do with the degree of the derivative. The first order derivative would be, say, d partial with respect to x. A second order would be a second derivative, second partial derivative with respect to x squared. A third order would be the third order derivative with respect to x, and so on. So people may ask, okay, have you seen models that have a third order derivative for water? The only one that comes to mind would be Boltzmann's equations. Boltzmann's equations show flows, the interval flows in x and t direction, but considering vertical accelerations. So you have like some complex derivatives in higher orders and Boltzmann's equations. Right. Most of the times we're interested in first and second order terms in our partial differential equations. Those are the most common ones. And finally, what is the difference between elliptic, parabolic, and hyperbolic equations? So the definition for those depend. To create this classification, we set up equations on second order derivatives. So imagine a very complex linear partial differential equation that looks like that. A partial, I don't know, the function f with respect to x plus b partial with respect double partial perspective F, both in x and y, plus C partial perspective F, double derivative partial derivative with respect to y, plus E partial derivative in first order with respect to x, plus F partial derivative with respect to y. We have G which is so imagine a generic second order derivative partial equation, differential equation. So I have the terms for A, B, C, all the way to G. But the thing is, every term here that multiplies the partial derivative term, it's not a function of f. It's a constant term. It doesn't depend on that. You know, this makes this equation meaningless equations. Then it looks like faster. We have to look at is the value of the term b squared minus 4ac. In the sense that when this term here is less than 0, we have what we call d. When this term here equals 0, we call it parabolic d. And when this term here is larger than 0, we call it hyperbolic. See, I'm not a mathematician myself, but this classification has to do with linear algebra. Yes, there's a branch of linear algebra applied to analysis. So you can demonstrate, mathematically speaking, that there are eigenvalues and eigenvectors. In Portuguese, autovalores e autovetores that are associated with these equations, and the value of those eigenvalues and eigenvectors, they depend, depending on how the values look like, they have you can classify these equations. So basically, I'm going to write this down here. So the eigenvalues, I don't know how in Portuguese this will translate into autovalores, but y from eigen to auto. But eigenvalues are real, are finite, and real numbers. This is so important. If you're studying the nature of solution, this is so important. Remember when I told you that when there's a flood wave, when you see the flood wave move, you can actually track the motion of the flood wave. That velocity is the eigenvalue. You can measure it. If a flood wave is moving, you throw a rock in the lake and it forms waves. Waves go one way, goes the other way. Okay? They are finite velocities. You can see them. Those finite velocities are the eigenvalues. Parabolic means the eigenvalues are infinite. So the value numerical value of an eigenvalue, if this is a parabolic, it are infinitely fast. Does it have a touch with the real physics? Yes, it does. Remember when I gave you the example of I'm going to start heating this table, and I'm going to have a sensor on the other side, start heating this instantaneously. There is an increase in temperature here, however small, but there is instantaneous. This is a result from a solution that is a parabolic partial differential equation. Okay. What about these? Okay, if one is infinitely large, the other one finite and real, what's left over? There is imaginary. So the eigenvalues are imaginary. In other words, solution doesn't depend on. I mean, you can't see time evolution. They are steady state. Basically, elliptic equations are steady state partial differential equations. Okay, examples. Let's see these examples. Can I begin here? Can I raise it? Classical examples. Elliptic partial differential equation. You have dt partial with respect to the partial double derivative, partial derivative with respect to x, double partial derivative of b with respect to y equal to 0. That's Laplace equation. But if you put this as equal to a function f and y, that would be Poisson equation. We're not solving Poisson equation, we're solving Laplace equation. I'm going to make a very easy solver for Laplace equation today. We're going to the mechanism next. Very easy. It's so easy it's going to be disappointing. Parabolic partial differential equation. We have something like this. Partial concentration with respect to time minus k, double derivative of the concentration, partial derivative with respect to x equal 0. Anyone recognize this equation? What is this equation? The basic diffusion equation. Concentration, you substitute by T, you have Fourier equation. So Fourier, so many equations are attached to this. And hyperbolic PV would be this. Anyone recalls this one? Minus 1 over c squared. Anyone who has seen this one before? Coastal hydraulics. Call it wave equation. So there are 1B, 2B, 3B version of wave equation. So if you have a string, like a string, and you see the oscillations in the string, it can be computed with C being related to the speed at which disturbance in the string travels. So now, is this correct? So let's look at those expressions here. Let's start with the elliptic equation. What is the value for B in here? Zero. There is no B term. And what's the value for A and C? 1 and 1. So what is the value for this value? Minus 4, hence 3. What about the parabolic equation? What's the value for A? Well, I can say either A or C being equal to 0. And the other being equal to minus K, right? B value 0. So since I don't have this, either one of those I don't have, and I don't have B, the value is 0. That's why this is a parabolic, according to classification, parabolic partial differential equation. Hyperbolic it is now B equals 0, but A positive 1, C negative minus 1 over C. So the product minus 4 AC is a positive number. And because it's positive, we have real eigenvalues. Then the solution is hyperbolic. So what we're going to do, so keep those equations. We're not going to solve these as an example for hyperbolic. We're going to solve these, and this here an example of hyperbolic and parabolic, or elliptic and parabolic for our class. With that, nobody has ever solved this before. Create a code to solve these equations before. First time for you? No. You did once. It's going to be a good surprise because it's pretty interesting writing codes, understanding the nature of how those things operate. All right. Numerical solution of elliptic PDEs. Very specifically, a very simple instance of Laplace equation is going to be solved today. So, what's the numerical method again? Numerical scheme. Let's go back to this details. Numerical method, numerical scheme. Method is about discretization. And scheme, how I'm going to rewrite those equations in an algebraic form. Okay. Discretization, we're going to keep it simple. Turn this on. We're going to try to keep it simple. We're going to use finite difference method. for our numerical methods. And we will choose centered space centered space scheme to solve Laplace equation. Okay? But we have to remember that we are interested in representing second order derivatives in algebraic form. So let's write again. Let's write again the Taylor series. So if I do have a function that's evaluated at the point f x plus delta x. But now we're looking at a function of two independent variables. So f plus delta x of y. Given that I know the value of this function in x and y, the first term that we have added to this equation here would be partial of f with respect to x delta x. Then the second term would be double derivative of x back to squared here, delta x squared divided by 2 factorial plus other terms. Okay? So I have this one expression here. Can I isolate this expression here to determine the value of f of x in the second space? Strategy, that's what we call it. Strategy here requires us to then write the other equation. What I'm trying to do is to find a way to represent this equation. Okay. So, and I want to do that in the following way. Here. So I'm trying to evaluate at this point here. This point is a point with coordinates x and y. What is the value of the double derivative of the function. In this case here, wouldn't be f, would be e, but it doesn't matter. What is the value of the double derivative with respect to x and with respect to y at this point, using the center scheme? So we use the point that's located minus 1 delta x and plus 1 delta x from the point that I am. So I could add here another Taylor series expansion. That would be a backward Taylor series minus delta x, delta y, and begin the evaluation of x and y minus the derivative, first derivative delta x plus second derivative with respect to x delta x squared divided by 2 plus other terms. If I sum those two terms, so sum this equation, the result would be margin. So I'm disappearing with these two terms if I sum them. If I sum then this delta x divided by 2 just becomes delta x squared. So I have here f x plus delta x plus f x minus delta x equal 2 times f x and y plus double derivative of x of f with respect to x squared delta x squared. Which then leads me to the last step, the double derivative of x of f with respect to x squared. The center space, the center derivative is going to be f minus 2 x plus f delta x y divided by delta x squared. So this is a representation of the double derivative of any function f with respect to x. And I need that because I need to represent this term here in an algebraic form. So this representation in algebraic form required me to use finite difference and required me to use set space scheme and Taylor series to finally write this down. I would follow the same approach and write that the second derivative of function f with respect to y, so the partial derivative, of course, is going to be equal to f x y plus delta y minus 2 f x of y plus f x y minus delta y everything divided by delta y squared. Same strategy here, only making the Taylor series expansion about y and about x. Any questions so far? Everybody okay? So next thing we're going to do, we're going to rewrite those two terms into Laplace equation. Now I'm going to call F by T, the temperature. Again, I never demonstrated to you Laplace equation itself. As I pointed out, it's not my goal here in this class to demonstrate those equations. But there is demonstration, especially if you look at the books that we have recommended, you're going to find those demonstrations. The focus here is to solve. So I'm going to replace those equations there. I'm going to now call x plus delta x as x1 or xi plus 1 x minus delta x. I'm going to call it x y minus 1. It's just notation. Y plus delta y. I'm going to call it y j plus 1, y minus delta y, what you call it y j minus 1. Just means of have a short notation. So this equation here will be T x I plus 1 y j minus 2 times T xy xi yj plus T x I minus 1 j yj divided by delta x squared plus T x I y j plus 1 minus 2 times T x I yj plus T x I y j minus 1. Everything divided by delta y squared. And everything here equal to 0. Now, I'm going to think about my numerical solution. I'm going to make my solution degree squared, meaning that the size of delta x is the same size of delta y. And if I do that, I can actually send delta x and delta y to the other side of the equation and get rid of that. That's one. Second, I'm going to isolate the value of P itself from the value of the neighbors. So in other words, I am trying to compute the Laplace equation. I'm trying to solve this equation here, which means I'm trying to solve the value of P every point. So here, this is the point I want to solve. And if you look at the way the equation is written right there, I have this point appearing in the solution, this point, this point, this point, and this point. The process and the square. Do you know how we call this? We call this numerical stencil. Sometimes it's useful for you to make a diagram of where I'm pulling information from. In this case, I'm pulling information from north, south, east, and west to solve solution at that point. And if I keep working on that, so I'm going to make the x and the y the same, and I'm going to isolate p. I can demonstrate then that p of xi, yj is going to be equal to 1/4 b x I plus 1j plus b x I minus 1 yj plus t x I y j plus 1 plus p x I y j minus 1. This is another way of saying that the temperature here is the average temperature here. Does this make sense? Because numerically it does make sense for a discretized solution. I actually, when I was in my graduate studies, I proposed a different numerical stencil. My numerical stencil used that. So if this is about making an average, let's put more points to make an average like this. And my numerical scheme converted faster to the solution than the original set scheme does. Obviously, given that those points are further away from those points, the average wasn't same. So these points here have little smaller influence than those points because of the distance. But it would speed up the convergence. And I'm putting this here for you as just an extra challenge. Do that to see if you can create a numerical scheme that does the original one. The original one is this, but also that adds extra points to achieve the average. Though it's not going to be easy. The way we're going to implement this is not going to be easy. All right. Everybody here with me? Can we start the computer here and start creating the solution for this in Excel? So, I don't know what the remote for this guy is.
When I was doing my master, I had been cut the kinematic wave to run the channel, and I used VBA, I remember, but almost 9 years ago. But I have the file yet. Maybe I can show you later.
We're going to solve the function analysis.
Okay, folks, please take a look at that. Pessoal, pay attention here. We're going to create an Excel file that does more or less this. So the Excel file we're going to create, I'm going to explain how the code is going to look like. So I'm going to delete this. So pay attention here. What I have is a solution domain. The solution domain is where I want the equations to be solved. Okay? And I have a row, column, So this is row number 6, column number 4. And here I have a row 22, column 12. So this is the solution. This is the solution domain. However, the way this code is going to be created, I'm going to put, I have to put a small number inside the region. I want things to be solved. It doesn't matter the shape, it doesn't matter the size. So the only thing that matters is that the border has to be bold-faced. The cell has to be bold-faced at the border. The code is going to check if this is bold. I'm not going to update. But if it's not bold, I'm going to calculate. So you see here that the shape of the domain is irregular. Okay, but it will calculate everything that is not bold-faced. And compute Laplace equation for that domain. So, for instance, I can do that. Right now, I can make this change. So I'm going to delete. Okay. I'm going to make a new domain here. And what I'm looking here is temperature. The numbers I'm putting there are temperatures. 55, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 29, 8, 25. I don't know. You just put any number you want. Okay. So I'm going to copy here 19, 17, 16, 13, 12, 11. But I have to ensure that the numbers here are all bold. And that I am making the border bold. The border is fully bold here. And in the middle here, I can't have bold. I have to have just regular. So I'm going to write here, for instance, in this point 0.01. And I'm going to copy all the way here. Here, here, here. So don't worry about the shape. I can mark the entire thing here, use Excel to create conditional formatting. This is really not what matters really. It's just to facilitate visualization. Now, the solution domain for this guy, so the last corner is this point here, right? So that would be 26. This is 10, 11, 12. So that would be 26, 12. And the start point would be 6 and 4. Here. So you're going to be surprised how short the code is to achieve that. Really short code, but this code solves Laplace equation. I'm going to show you the code. I'm going to have the code displayed here, and we're going to create that. But let me show the code first. At this point, you know how to do everything here, right? So I don't need to show properties, those kind of things. So let me go here. This is the code. Okay? So I have here some variables defined at the top. I'm going to explain what the variables are. Nx and Ny is the computation of how many. So I'm not starting at 0, 0, and 100, and 100. So I'm starting at different points. I'm computing how many columns and rows I have to compute. Acceptance here is the criteria for me to stop. So I keep changing the calculations at every cell until the one cell that has the greatest amount of error is under the acceptance criteria, then I stop calculations. Meter is number of iterations. So I'm just keep tracking of how many times I'm running the calculations until I converge. KKO here is out. Sometimes I reach the acceptance criteria before the number of maximum iterations. So then I have to track how many iterations I had. So this is just an auxiliary variable. So what I have here first, see, look at that. If the cell at a given coordinate, y and j, remember, row and column, value is larger than 0.0001. So if there's a number there, remember I asked you, put a number there, put a small number there. If it's larger than this small number, and if the font style is regular, it's not bold, it's regular, then store the value 0.0001 as the old temperature there, store the initial value for the temperature calculation 0.001, set the value of the cell equal to this small number. So even if you put there 1, you're going to drop that to 0.0001 and then start the calculation. And then the entire calculation is right here. So let me zoom closer. So this is where I'm checking the font size and things like that. So in here, I'm going to do the same. So I'm starting at, so what I have here is the start point for the loop for the rows and here for the columns. So for rows from here to here, and this means from this to this, rows, cells 2, 6, 3, 6. So this is 6, 2, 6, and 3, 6. So I'm updating rows from here to here, updating columns from 2, 7 to 3, 7, columns from here to here. If the values of the cells are larger or equal to that smaller number, and if the font style is regular, then update the value of the cell with 1/4 value of the neighbors. So here, II minus 1 would be the cell at the top. So row, column, II minus 1 is the top cell. II plus 1, which is this guy here, J is the lower cell. II J minus 1 is the cell to the left. II J plus 1 is the cell to the right. So make that point II JJ as the average of the neighbors. And I look at the error. So what was the old temperature and what's the new temperature related to the old temperature? If the maximum error that I set to 0 is smaller, then make the maximum error equal to that specific location error. And then at the end, I look at the error here. When I'm done with the calculations here, if the error is smaller than the acceptance criteria to stop, then I store where I was in terms of my iteration and finish. And by the way, I have a cell here, cell 39, which is this guy, where I keep adding the numbers, just to the user see that, yeah, it's being computed. The numbers is increasing the number of iterations. So you see, that's a tricky and simple thing in Excel. You can look at the font, the way the font is written, and make a decision on how to proceed. When we decide that this is done, and I want to change this into a more complex numerical stencil, this is the line that needs to be changed. That's the only line that we change. But you have to be careful when you're setting up your problem. Remember that this corner, every number here, this corner has to be bold-faced. But I cannot have something like this. This is not going to work. You have to have the number right there. Does this make sense? Ready to start? So first, I would suggest you creating a user interface like this on the top. So you collect information how you're going to solve, from which point to which point. You start and here would be maximum number of iterations. Nobody has ever done something like this before? Let me show you one thing here. That's a different application, but it's also Laplace equation, but different application. Because if you haven't seen this, this is for heat transfer. I'm going to show you something I use in my courses. But this is not with TBA. So every number here is an average for the nearby cells. I have to stop automatic calculation. Excel, every time you hit enter, it calculates the cell. In this case, I can't. I have to stop automatic calculation. What you have painted in yellow here could be anything you want. For instance, I could create a dam. Anything like if it was a Lego, right?
there's a criteria here. There is a double layer of zeros and ones that I can't overlap. And here on the top, I want to replace this with calculation numbers. How can I force calculation? I forgot. F9, I know, but it's complaining about something here. Calculate now. I think he's complaining about the automatic calculation. I have to, I think for this guy here, first calculation options, automatic, manual. Good. Let's see if I can make it work now. I think it may have calculated. Formulas now. Okay. Suppose that it has been calculated. I'm not happy with that. See, it's supposed to calculate the streamlines. But this on the top is not correct. I don't know why. Anyways, I just wanted to show you, this is potential flow theory, and this is one way where we can compute. Yeah, he's still having some circular references here. I don't know why he is. If the calculation is not automatic, he shouldn't complain about that. It's manual. Yeah, I'll try to see what this is. I have created this in the previous version of Excel, but never mind. What I'm solving here is, in a sense, the same thing that we are solving here. Only here I'm using VBA, and there I'm using the actual cells. We can apply the same approach here in the other file. So this is the code. Okay, I'll leave the code here in the screen. So let's start creating this code in your computers here, and let's try to develop a solution for Laplace equation. First with the 4 neighbors, then with 8 neighbors.
Folks, let me just suggest one thing to you. You're noticing here that first I put some spaces where different blocks of things are happening. There are no comments in the code yet, but you should comment. But you're noticing here that there is indentation. Indentation here has to do with the hierarchy. So first, we think these are going to run this, we think these are going to run this. These commands here are beside those ifs. So my recommendation when you're writing code, you keep the indentation. So for instance, I can go down here, and I know that this if lines up here and if, and everything here is inside this if. This for finishes this for, and this is blocked inside of this for. So this helps reading and then debugging the code, correcting the code later, putting the correct indentation as you write. Some languages make the indentation automatic, like Visual Basic does, but Visual Basic for applications maybe doesn't. So you have to do this by hand.
Can I scroll up? The phone? Can I move up?
Okay, so it's not showing here. I'm making a comparison here. If the maximum relative error is smaller than that, then make maximum relative error equal to that. That would be equal to this. So I'm trying to find the worst error and call that maximum relative error. Anyone here has finished the code? Is it running? Is it working? Anyone here knows why I use II and JJ instead of I and J? So if you are busy with the professor at the University of Texas, why? Yeah, this is fantastic. Why? Because every time you make a mistake in the index, for instance, you call something I, it should have been called J. And you're trying to read that, and you can't find where the error is. You know it's an error like that, you can't find. But if you try to Control find I, there's going to be 1,000. But when you have II, it's going to be 10. So this is for the budget. Indices should be II, J, K, K. Most of my codes in the past were I, J, and K too. It's right. Every time that I make an error, it's difficult to find the error. From now on, if I have to write a code, it's II and JJ instead of IJ. K for Z, T for time PT. Anyone here made it work? Is it working? Cool. So those of you that have managed to make these work, I'd like you to try the other stencil and see if it's making the computation go faster. Instead of using 4 points, use 8 points calculation. Chegar a poder pensar mais rápido. This is the one that we want to update. That's the current iteration. Folks, please pay attention to this. I'm going to make, we need to wrap up the class today, and I'm going to, when I go back to the office, I'm going to send this email with this file. But before I do that, I just want to do one last change here, which is adding the other numerical stencil. But what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to create another button here. So this button here, developer. So I'm going to change the property here, this button. I'm going to call this solve 4 points. So that's the traditional solution with 4 points, north, south, east, west. And I'm going to create another button here that I'm going to add the second numerical scheme, which I'm going to call it properties. 8 points, and so
8 points. So I'm going to solve with 4 points and solve with 8 points. Now, when I double click here and solve with 8 points, obviously you see here there's no code. I'm just going to copy the entire code that I have with 2 points in here, space. Okay, so now this is solved with 8 points. The only thing that I'm really going to change is right here, this line, where is the line that I'm adding the updates on the temperature. Now, one thing is pretty normal in the future. You may have a code in Visual Basic or Visual Basic for applications that the line is very big. Instead of having a very big line, you can actually continue the line underneath. So all you need to do is to put a space here and put an underscore, and then you can keep writing the function. So the strategy I'm going to make is that I'm going to make a weighted average. I'm going to put 2/3 of importance to the neighbors that are really close, and 1/3 for the neighbors that are a little far away. So I'm going to put here plus 0.025 because it's going to be a 4-point average again, but it's just 1/3. And I'm going to multiply here by the cells. But what cells are these? So first is going to be this cell, -1, top 1. Then it's going to be this cell, +1. So I'm going to one diagonal, the other diagonal. Then this one here, +1, j -1. And then I -1, j +1. Okay. So now I have, and personally, I like symmetry when I'm reading the code. I like things to be aligned, easy for me to decorate later. Okay, I solved it. I'm going to minimize. So again, I'm going to change the acceptance criteria here, dropping this acceptance criteria by 1, 0, and I'm going to solve with 4 points. Developer, sign it up, solve with 4 points. So it takes 112 iterations to achieve. Solve with 8 points, 89. And then I ask, okay, what if it wasn't 2/3, 1/3? What if this was 3/4 and 1/4? Do it again. 8 points. 93. Got worse. Okay, maybe a half. Half here. And half here. 8 points. 8. So it appears that when I made half to half, the system itself converged faster. Okay, let me drop the criteria here. I'm going to put 1, 0 more, be more stringent in my acceptance. And I'm going to do it with 4 points again. 4 points, converging 149 with 8 points. 105. So yes, we're gaining in performance. If you think about that, what's the difference, right? It doesn't matter much. But when you're solving Navier-Stokes equation, you have to solve the turbulence component. The turbulence component of Navier-Stokes equation, you're solving a elliptic solution. The double derivatives you have in Navier-Stokes equation, it itself, it's an elliptic solver inside of a hyperbolic solver. So everything that you can do to improve the performance of elliptic solvers is welcome. And by the way, what I'm showing here, finite difference, this is really very, very basic. I mean, I am not a researcher in numerical methods, per se, just studying numerical methods. But there are multi-grid solutions, successive over-relaxation procedures. There are different methods that we could use. For instance, what if, we haven't tried that, but what if, let's go back to, this is the 4-point solution, right? Correct? What if instead of making the solution always adopting the neighbor's value, I use part of my old value? For instance, that's called relaxation. So I could use something like that. I could multiply my number here by 0.75, and this is the new solution, and put 0.25 of the old. So I'm keeping the old solution, and I'm updating only 75% of the new solutions, really the new, the neighbors, but keeping 25 of the old. So I had 149, right, when I had 4 points. Not worse. Okay, got worse. Sometimes things don't work. But I think it's worse because I dropped the temperature to 0 everywhere. So this is I think the main reason why I haven't converged. But this, in other cases, you don't have to start with a 0 temperature everywhere. You can make an average of the perimeter, divide by the number of the cells. Okay, that's where I'm going to start, and then let the code solve. In some cases like that, maybe these relaxation approaches could work better. Anyways, there are many different approaches, many different means we can get the solution to work for us. We can change the numerical scheme, as I pointed out, 8 points instead of 4. It does converge faster, but see, this is all things for us to play. You can change the domain. You can make the domain arbitrary. That's why I use the bold check if I have a bold face. All you need to do is when you're setting this row and columns here, that you're looking at the initial row and column, and that my last row and column, that even if I have, say, a point here, that will be my last column. If I have a point here, that will be my last row. Because I have to put a square around my irregular domain and tell that, okay, solving that square wherever I have a number, and this number is not bold-faced, it's a regular. Update wherever I have a number like this. All right, so let me do this. File, save. I have your email addresses here. And I will send to you right now. Okay? So tomorrow, the plan will be